We are so back again. My gosh, what a 48 hours it has been, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the stream. Chat, I hope you're all good. I can't imagine you aren't all good, to be fair. There's a lot of transfer news to be getting into, and I will be joined by Owen, who is back after his unfortunate illness. It was a very short thing, luckily for him. But he is joining me now, in theory, playback. Come on. We've got too much to talk about for Owen to not be joining. But while we're loading, Kadogo chat, but also Jorginho Rutter. Owen, here we go, mate. How are you?
Please tell me the microphone's working.
I can hear you, mate. That's the main thing. Well, you're not coming through my AirPods, so I'll have to connect you while you're talking.
That's all right. I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Mate, I'm very good. There's too much stuff going on for me to keep up today, you know.
Honestly, I woke up and I was like, I'm already behind on news, and then the second I get all the news out, there's more news, and then when I get that news out, there's more news, and then it's there's Kadogo, it's Rutter, what a wonderful
Pedro
day.
just tweeted as well. He said, as revealed and now confirmed, Jorginho Rutter has agreed to join Brighton. Literally just now come out on Sky Sports. It says as well from the Leeds end that he said his goodbyes today. It was a bit of an emotional day apparently within the Leeds training ground. But it looks pretty inevitable now that Jorginho Rutter will be joining the club on a record deal, £40 million. Owen,
it's a hell of a lot of money, isn't it?
Well spent.
I don't know. It's not like our typical signing that it's like really under market value. I think 40 million for him is about right. So it's a little bit of a strange one in that aspect for Brighton, because usually we like the bargains and finding the value. There is a bit of value in the 40 million, because I think if you put Rutter in a much better team, he looks a much better player. Because if you look at what he's surrounded by with Leeds, with all due respect, we're better than Leeds by a significant margin, let alone...
Isn't that a great thing to say after, 3 years ago when it was the Ben White saga going on? It's quite nice for this to all come back around, you know.
I think they've just learnt their place now, There's a football hierarchy and they need to learn their place. And I think now, after the Ben White saga, I think they started to know it a little bit. And now after Rutter, they're in the Championship again, a league we haven't been in since 2017. Think how long ago 2017 was.
Yeah, I know. And do you remember them singing as well that we'll F it up in that infamous video from their part when they finished 7th, I think. I think they were in top 3 at the time of singing it. We were top, saying that we'd basically bottle the league. Yes, we bottled the league.
We did bottle the league in the end.
But we still came up. Leeds finished 7th outside the playoffs that season. So we have had our laughs at the Leeds faithful. Rutter, though, is an interesting one. I don't know if they called him Jorginho. I think that whenever I listen to Jorginho highlights, it seems to be that name rather than Rutter. But I could be wrong. I think he's got a Jorginho on the back of his shirt at Leeds as well. But I spoke to a Leeds fan, actually. And in fact, I'm going to see if I can get him in here because I've only got 20 minutes. So it'd be good to hear a Leeds perspective. But they are they're very disappointed. They say he's by far their best player. As you said, in a better team, he's a much better player, of course. But this is, and I quote, by the way, Rutter is by far the most entertaining player I've seen as a Leeds fan in my whole life. He makes football fun to watch.
Says it all, doesn't it? He's incredible. The way he drops in, he's very well-rounded. He reminds me a little bit of Firmino. Just the way he just dominates them central areas of the pitch.
It's a nice comparison, that,
Former Hoffenheim as well. Hoffenheim do like their zone-dominating strikers.
Nines. Yeah. So your take on sort of how he fits in here, Owen? I mean, obviously you're quite good with player profiles. Obviously we know how good he is. I know how technically gifted he is. Obviously his goal return's not the best in terms of, apparently he's not the most prolific striker. But I guess that's not really that much of a concern when you see how many goals are in the squad.
So as for where he fits, I'm as bamboozled as everyone about what Brighton's going to look like on a week-to-week basis, because there's so many good options. I think I have Mitoma as like a lock to start, that if he's available, he starts. Probably Pedro as well. And then, I don't know, I think everyone else is like
bit of a free for all, really, isn't it?
Yeah, like whoever's performing well in training or.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, even like the likes of Gruder. I saw him this morning, by the way, Brian Gruder, which is quite a funny one. But yeah, I mean, we've got a very stacked forward line. I guess people were worrying if we had too many strikers, but I suppose even like Gruder, for example, can play down the middle, similarly to obviously Rutter and Joao Pedro. So we've got a lot of sort of. And then Ciso, as someone said in the chat as well, that's another player that can sort of play wide, but then also come inside as well. Similar profile across the board, but I guess all a little bit different in their own right.
They are. We have the ability to be so flexible next season, which could be a really good thing, but it could also be a bit of a problem. But I don't want to talk about like any negatives because what a day we've had here.
Today we can't.
as long as there's like a set identity, we're going to be fine. And we have so many different options, different profiles of players. You know, Rutter's different to Fergie. Fergie's different to Pedro. Pedro's different to Welbeck. And you look at out wide, Gruder's different to Minte. They're both different to Mitoma, and Ciso's completely different. We have the ability to really match up well against like whoever we play against. From a midfield onwards perspective, defence probably still needs a reinforcement. Kadogo, hopefully. You know, there's a lot of positive reports coming out from various reliable journalists with Kadogo. But yeah,
definitely.
It's just been so busy.
Just on the Rutter thing here, I saw someone's put in the chat, Mito Magic. These are some great stats here. I mean, it's most dribbles, most assists, most key passes, most shot assists, most fouls suffered, which is, I guess, a good thing because he's getting around players and getting fouled. Most expected assists, most attacking actions, most offensive duels, most progressive runs as well in there. So there's a lot of statistics where he leads in the championship against other strikers as of last season. That is. As well, he got most pass into the final third, most deep completions, most pass into the penalty area, most through balls, and most offensive duels. That's quite an all-rounded sort of take-in, really, isn't it? I mean, that's leading the stats, not just offensively, but defensively as well.
It shows that he's not really I mean, I think if you're expecting Rutter to be like an out-and-out number 9, I think you're looking at the wrong kind of player for that. If you even click on that tweet and look at the graphs, his expected goals are very below average, and his non-penalty goals are also sort of below average relative to championship strikers. He's much more of like a creative vocal point rather than like the person on the end of these moves. He's more the one creating the moves.
What do you think that does for the likes of Matt O'Reilly that it got linked with? Do you think it's a collision, or do you think we're still after him as well?
I don't think it's worth predicting anything in this window.
That's fair enough. No, my main point is where they sort of play and what we'd expect from maybe Matt O'Reilly. Obviously, we'd expect a little bit more sort of deeper play as well. But we're quite good for sort of creative options now.
I think we're stacked creatively.
That's what I mean.
I think we've probably got too many at this point. Not that it's a bad thing necessarily, but it's something to certainly highlight. Matt O'Reilly, there is a bit of like an overlap of just like not where they play, but the sort of where they would operate and sort of the roles they would do. It does make me wonder who's going to score the goals. Yeah, a little bit.
Obviously, the goal scorers, I suppose you've got the likes of Joao Pedro. I mean, Minte's really impressed, hasn't he, in pre-season in front of goal. I think the good thing is we're signing players that they're all good goal scorers in their own right. They're not necessarily going to be 30-goal people. Maybe apart from Joao, you never know. I could see him hitting some high numbers next season if he gets all this service up and running. But I don't know. When you look at the squad, as long as each of these sort of individual talents are chipping in with goals, it won't really matter too much.
I think it will be like a season where we don't have an out goal scorer, but we will have like 8 players with like 7 goals each.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it feels like that situation.
Which got so much. We're nearly at 100 views, by the way. That's quite cool.
In terms of what's his name, Kadogo, then another one that's very, very versatile. And I think one of the main things that I worried about a little bit was when we lost Pascal Gross and. That versatility, ability to not just cover sort of right back, but also midfield. You never know with injuries. We got very unlucky, didn't we, last season? I know we say we're very good up front, but sort of defensively and in midfield, we could struggle a little bit with a couple of injuries. But it seems as though Kadogo can, not just play this right back and left back role, but also cover pretty much the majority of midfield.
Yeah, I think he will mainly be right back and left back. I don't think you want to put him in midfield too much.
I think he played 8 for, was it Turkey or Fenerbahce the other day, which was quite mad.
I don't know. I couldn't get a stream for it, to be honest. So I didn't watch it. He might have done. But I think he's best in like right back or left back just because he's so good 1v1. And, you know, he's really quick, which isn't really needed for a central midfielder, more so than a wing back, full back. Not to mention how weak we are at right back comparatively to the rest of the pitch. I do think you'll mainly see him at right back. And then, yeah, it's just another amazing signing if we can pull it off.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, you know, the right back options now, obviously, the likes of Veltman, the likes of Lamptey. What happens with Tarek and Veltman here? I mean, Veltman's obviously going to play a bit part role. I think he probably accepts that in his body. Wasn't, you know, playing too regularly last season, suffered a little bit with maybe playing too many games, what he should have been doing. You know, Tarek, for example, do you think he sticks around, or could you see him maybe being one that does leave?
I mean, if you look at our squad, I don't know the exact numbers, someone might know. We're probably close to like 30 first-team players still, including all the fringe, quote-unquote, deadwood. So we probably need like quite a few sales in the next few weeks. Otherwise, we're going to be like Chelsea under Graham Potter.
I was going to say, like,
way too many players.
We all abuse Chelsea for sort of over hoarding, but I mean, we're not far off it, are we? Really?
Oh no, we're absolutely doing it. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. The same way Chelsea doing it isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Are we a big club now? Then is that what it is? We're officially
behaving like one, aren't we?
This is what I'm saying. We actually are. This is the first time I've seen Brighton behave like this. You know, really, really go out there and just go for best players. Like we are literally stealing club's best players left, right, and centre. Like Kadogo is one of the best players in Turkey, not just Fenerbahce. He set them alight for the Euros, obviously in the summer, and then obviously Rutter's by far, as we've already mentioned, Leeds' best player. I mean, these are two players that aren't just coming in, you know, as young players like we have done. Even Minte to some extent was sort of like Newcastle's best young player, as they were saying at the time. And Weaver was probably the best player at Feyenoord last season. Like, these are all players that are coming in with their own reputations.
There's a serious amount of pedigree with most of these signings as well. Weaver, you know, well established in Europe. Minte had a good season in Europe. He's like more of an up and coming one. Kadogo, well established in Europe again, European competitions, the Euros, of course. And, you know, the Turkish league isn't like a joke of a league. The atmospheres he's going to be facing in that league. Yeah. The Premier League is not going to phase him one bit.
When the East Stand's empty at 80 minutes, it's going to be a bit different. But even Leeds to some extent. But yeah, I suppose it is just a bit crazy, isn't it? It's to the point where we're actually a little bit overwhelmed with what to talk to, because there is so much to talk about. I
was going to say, because you're here for a short time, it's like we have to rush through like 10 different things.
Yeah, I've got 20 minutes and I've got to hop on TalkSport 2, and then I can come back off afterwards. So I can happily start up another stream shortly after the TalkSport. So by the way, please do tune into that. When I'm live. I've got a couple of questions here, Owen, just while we're on the chat. I've got, with 40 million on Rutter, is the club certain to have more potential? Is he club certain that we have more potential than Zhao? Oh my God, that's a bit of a claim there. I don't think there's probably any coincidences with Zhao and Rutter. I'd say they're purely their own thing, but Owen, I'll let you touch on that one.
I hate to talk about player sales, but if you're looking at next summer, if you had to like guess some players who like the big clubs would absolutely want, João Pedro is probably right at the top of everyone's list, just because of how good he is. He's proved in big games he can play at a high level when, you know, others necessarily didn't live up to that standards at times in Europa League. Thinking Marseille away, you know, we looked like we were down and out until João Pedro turned it around for us. Even at home, you know, João Pedro scored. He's just got so many goals. So I wouldn't be surprised if the club view Rutter as the João Pedro successor before Pedro even goes, because I don't think he'll go this summer.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit similar to actually how we could have managed Dewsbury Hall if he did come in at that time with Pascal Gross in January, wasn't it? When we were talking about, you know, potential Pascal Gross successor and, you know, what would happen then. I suppose we've effectively replaced Pascal Gross, but with his talents with different players, if you know what I mean. So
Kadogo, the money ball.
Yeah, we've Africa. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I probably wouldn't take too much at this stage. I can't see anyone going really, really, really big shocks now. I think we are looking quite good in terms of keeping hold of everyone. Would you agree?
I mean, I don't think any sales would come as a shock. I mean,
That's what I'm
there'd be
saying.
a couple like eyebrow raises the way Gilmore was, or sort of. I know he's not gone yet, but it looks like it's a matter of time. We might see one closer to the end of the window where, if we get a good offer for a fringe player, maybe we sell. Who that is, who knows? But
Adingra, Gilmore, Moda, Dahoud is the sort of ones coming to mind for me.
I don't think anyone would be surprised if Moda or Dahoud went.
I think we've tried to hand them out, haven't we? But I mean, when I'm looking at the squad now, I think when you're losing another 5 or 6 players probably on the fringe, I mean, it still makes up for a fair amount of. I mean, money's not really a problem for us. I mean, we spent all this money, and I actually tweeted Kieran Maguire earlier because I was just keen to learn a little bit about sort of our finances, and he's effectively said, chill out. I think when you look at the PSR profits of 22-23, they're about 145 million. 23-24 was around 130. So we're going into this season with pretty much stacked pockets, really, and it really doesn't matter too much. Of people are talking about FFP with concerns and PSR concerns. I think we're looking fine. And even when we need to balance the books, I mean, losing Gilmore and even Igor perhaps to some extent could loosen up a little bit of wages. We'll see. Undav obviously went for quite a big sort of fee as well, didn't he, for what he was probably worth. So there's not really a great deal of concern on the wage front and fee front. In terms of what happens next, Owen, just a quick one. Obviously, we're not done yet. I mean, we're looking at all this unbelievable football, and we're still not finished yet. What do we go for next? I mean, is it centre back? Is probably the definite that we go for.
I should say on the PSR thing as well, if there is anyone concerned, like if we was, I mean, not that Tony Bloom or Paul Barber or, anyone involved in the decision maker would ever allow us to get into that position. But if there was a case where we needed to sell, my oh my, do we have a ton of players worth a lot of money?
That's true.
If we needed to raise money in a quick manner. And I mean, I think Matt Reef is our oldest signing this summer and he's 24.
That's horrible, mate. I'm 23.
The point being, these are all players that can be sort of sold on for a profit, and with our model, probably will be sold on for a profit if they do well, for huge money. As for sort of what's next, the centre back market's a bit dead because I'm just quite happy to keep Igor around for the season.
Yeah. Do you think we go for one? I mean, there's still time. Let's face it. There's still plenty of time. With how we've acted today, there's a lot of time left. But I think I messaged you about Colwill. But that sort of molded player is probably where I'd go for. Like a left-sided centre back, quite progressive, that sort of player.
Yeah, definitely. But I think the market's a bit dead for that profile, and I think if you sort of categorize the sort of centre back you want, you're probably trying to look for like as close to a Van Dijk, as close to a Saliba, as close to a Gvardiol type of profile, and I just don't think there's any available in the market. So next summer there's going to be more, I think, because there's a lot of good teenage centre backs that are sort of breaking through, respectively around Europe.
I mean, that's the mad thing, isn't it? We are very capable and confident in waiting and biding our time, like we did sort of last summer. We're happy to wait. I mean, we could have gone and spent 200 million last summer if we wanted to, but it probably just wasn't the right time. Perhaps they didn't trust the Zerbi enough. Whatever the situation was back then, we've waited, and look at us now. I mean, we've invested the money wisely into players that I think 100%. I like all of them so far from what I've looked at. So we're happy to bide our time, I suppose, in that respect. So I probably wouldn't get too downbeat. Oh, by the way, can I just touch on this comment? Ryan, you're 23. I thought you were older than Hertz today. Mate, I get ID'd for like ibuprofen or something if I went for paracetamol. Chill out a little bit. I still look about 12 as far as I'm concerned. But no. Owen, what do you think about sort of what I just said there? I mean, do you reckon you're happy to bide your time, in waiting for a centre-back, or do you think it's a necessity at this point?
I think Duncan Van Hecker are fine. I know they're probably, I mean, what a compliment to the rest of the team, but they're probably like the weakest of the two now in that starting 11, relative to sort of everyone else on paper. Not to say like they're bad or anything, like they're absolutely fine, but that's not a centre back partnership, I think, that can lead you to a top 6, top 4 push, sort of respectively, because Lewis Dunk is a club legend and everything. But so yeah, I am happy to wait a year if the club feel like there's a better player that's going to be available. Because Buscaglia is decent, but there is like a bit of limited upside with him because he is small. He isn't physically powerful or anything. Like there are games where you couldn't play him because he would just get physically overrun, which is like the polar opposite of what our sort of recruitment strategy has been this summer. If you look at Matsuifa, Carlos Balevas, who would hopefully break through this season into a more prominent role, Ferdi Kadioglu, Brejan Gruda, Rutter, like these are all powerful players. So it's kind of like the complete opposite of what Buscaglia is.
Yeah, you're actually right. And I think as well with what we said about Hertz's system was we're going to be very into sort of them sort of players that are going to cover a lot of ground, be a little bit more physical. I mean, do you remember last season, the amount of times we got overrun? I mean, it was horrendous. So the 6-1 against Villa and the 4-0 at Luton. Don't need to even go over some of them defeats, the Rome game. And we got massively overrun, particularly in midfield. But, as you say, even to some extent, the sort of forwards that can drop deep, like Jorginho, Rutter, and even João Pedro, to be fair, he's very capable of getting back. But we really struggled with that, didn't we, last season?
We just got played off the park against any team that could win a duel in midfield. I'd be a lot less confident for Everton, which I'm sure we'll get on to soon. If we didn't have Matsuifa, Carlos Baleva, maybe Rutter if it's done in time, João Pedro, like we can sort of match them man for man in midfield now and not let them bully us.
You're right. And actually, you mentioned Everton. It's a good time to really do it because I've literally got about 5 more minutes. Now, we'll do another stream afterwards, sort of a bit later. As soon as we get the here we go for Jorginho, we'll probably be back on. But Everton, I mean, who starts? Who plays, mate? I'm not going to recognise the first 11.
Are we going to do what do we do? Predicted 11?
Let's go with how you think the game's going to go as well. Who realistically starts? Because let's hear from the chat as well. Because I don't want to just assume that we need to put all our players in because otherwise we're not going to gel at all. We don't want to just completely YOLO it in terms of chemistry. Minte starts 100%. Minte starts. But yeah, okay. Let's do that. Owen. Let's go position. Let's go start with goalkeeper.
And it's probably going to be Jason Steele, right? Because he's played every pre-season game.
I'd say so. And I can't see us risking the injury for Rushworth if we're going to send him on loan, personally.
Yeah, so that's probably it's probably Jason Steele. Unless Bart Verbruggen's makes a miraculous recovery.
Yeah, I think I heard something about him being back somewhere around sort of Manchester United game, maybe the one after. So we hope for the best on that one. So yeah, we'll say that. What formation are we going? We going 4 at the back or 5 at the back?
Oh, I think we go 4. I'm just thinking if it's a 4-2-4, like a 4-2-3-1, because now we got Gruda and.
Yeah, I'm just thinking how we got so many players.
Let's go 4-2-3-1. That's kind of
4-2-3-1.
That's a simplistic one. So right back, I've got Veltman.
Yeah, I can't see us just throwing Kadioglu in. I really can't.
Well, he's not even done yet, technically, is he? And it'll have to be done by tomorrow.
But yeah,
for sort of registration.
Yeah, probably not. So yeah, I'll agree on Veltman. Centre backs, obviously Van Hecker and Dunk probably write themselves here, don't they?
Yeah, then left back is probably Barco, isn't it? I don't think that's.
Yeah, worst
has only just come back.
Yeah,
in terms of training.
Stupinian's next month, I think, probably. Unless it changes, could change, could be back before then. But my gut feeling says he'll be back after sort of August. Webster Van. No, I think it'll be. I think Dunk will play. Okay, midfield. You first. Obviously, I think Baleba and Weaver.
I hope so, but I think it'll be Milner and Weaver.
Do you?
I think Milner's played every game. So I think he'll just stick with what he knows.
He has played every game of pre-season, hasn't he?
Yeah,
and he started in midfield.
I can't see him dropping him personally, especially because it's Weaver's first game. I think he'll want the experience. And just, it's another vocal leader on the pitch, which Carlos obviously isn't. Yeah. And out wide, we're probably looking at Minte and Mitoma.
Minte Matoma, 100%. In fact, actually, we say how difficult this is going to be. It's been really straightforward. Because when I'm thinking about it now, realistically, none of these new players are really going to play anyway, are they? And obviously, you've got Zhao up front, probably Welbeck joining him, won't you?
I think so, yeah. That's actually a lot easier than expected.
It is. Well, I was thinking, because do we include Gruder in that situation? Like, he probably will be in the squad, I would say.
You probably give him like a 30-minute cameo off the bench, don't you?
Yeah. Do you know what, actually? I was talking to a Man United fan earlier, an actual Man United fan, one that actually goes to games, which is very hard to find. But I was talking to him about the Man United game. Isn't it a 12:30 kickoff at the Amex? And I said, that just screams Rutter debut goal and a win. Like, I don't know what it is. The 12:30 early games against a big six side early on just screams debut goal and a win. You can bookmark me for that if you like.
That's probably the game out of our first three where I'm most confident we'll win.
Yeah,
because
I know what you mean.
Everton away, Man United at home, Arsenal away. Then
I'm seeing a draw. I'm seeing a draw on Saturday.
I'll tell you what, an Everton fan posted like their predicted lineup based on injuries and whatnot. Okay. I'll read it out to you and tell me if this sounds incredibly winnable.
Okay.
Pickford, Ashley Young, James Tarkowski, Michael Keane, Mikalenko, Garner Gay. They've got him down as Tim, but it's the Aston Villa midfielder that they signed. He's got a very long surname. Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil, Doucouré, and Calvert-Lewin.
That's the most 2018 team I've ever heard.
We should get past that quite easily.
That screams 2018. Oh, mate, I don't want to get too confident, though, because we don't know how Herzl's going to play in the Premier League yet. But I think when you look at it on paper, I mean, it's by far we've got a much better team than them. And Everton obviously struggled big time, didn't they, last season? Jack Harrison starting in the Prem. Solid, they are solid at the back. They have got some decent, but then they're very solid at the back in the past. I mean, the difference was back when Doucouré used to bang hat tricks against us in the Amex, was we did actually just struggle with an overload of sort of, wasn't it at the time where we just played a lot of games, weren't we? We were all burnt out.
De Zerbi forgot what rest was.
We never rested either. I wouldn't be too worried about Doucouré these days. He's not going to have a prime Yaya, hopefully. I don't know.
I'm looking forward to Matoma versus a 39-year-old Ashley Young.
And then Minte's on the other side as well.
If they throw players over to that side, you just ping it off to Minte and let him do his thing.
It'd be interesting to see how Herzl copes with the low block as well.
I think it'd be quite good because we have played worse teams in pre-season, and there's also been like a lot of shots, a lot of chances. And just looking at this Everton team, if it is accurate for on the day, they can't press us high. So it will be like a good test of.
It's going to be Dyche. It's just going to be Dyche ball. It's going to be holding it at the back and trying our best to get past it, and just hope that Pickford doesn't have a blinder like he always seems to against us. Have you seen Gruder's long shots? Yes, I have. And actually, I like the fact we've gone for a few players with really, really sort of good shooting ability, because that's something we really, really struggle with, wasn't it? Ball striking. I think me and you spoke about that, Owen, actually a while back, was sort of our lack of ball strikers. But I think when we signed Julio, it sort of changed a little bit. But yes, that could be actually a bit of a tactic for us if we do struggle. But although we do look a little bit better under set pieces.
If only Julio didn't decide to play 2 international competitions over the summer. He'd be a really handy player to have, wouldn't he? But you know, that's just the way things go, sadly. Not much the club can do when those things happen. But he'd definitely be in with a chance to start if he was fit and healthy.
Right, let's hear some score predictions then. And goal scorers, please.
Ooh.
Put your neck on the line. Come on. And chat as well. I want to hear you.
I'm going to let the chat go through it before.
Yeah, get the chat out, because as well, I'm going to come back to the chat and post a couple on my Instagram. And if you win, then I will give you... I don't even know. You can have... I don't know. I've got nothing to give you, unfortunately. You can have a Brighton shirt. A fake one.
I was going to say that's a lot for a score prediction. I'm going to go 2-1 Brighton. That's what I've gone for my Super 6. I'm sticking with it. As for who's scoring, I'm going to go Lewis Dunk from a set piece.
That's a great shout. Screams Everton away, that.
And I'm going to go Matoma. He scored there like 2 seasons ago.
Do you
when
remember
it's
that?
really rainy.
Yeah, and do you remember that dunk goal last season that got ruled out? An absolute worldie it was.
I think so.
But yeah, I think Minte. I really do, because as well they wanted him, didn't they? So you say 2-1, did you say?
Yeah, I've got 2-1, Brighton.
All right, I'm going to say a 1-1 because I think we won't quite hit the ground running yet.
Boo.
I hope I'm really wrong.
Boo this man.
Oh, because I'm not sure on how we cope with the low block yet. I haven't seen it. I'm getting booed. Do you know what? Boo me. I don't care.
So you're going to go out and fashion 4-0 and you're going to look very silly, Ryan. Not believing in Fabio.
That would be the happiest silly I ever be. Okay, I'm going to say 2-1. Actually, no, I won't. I'll say 1-0. I'll stick with it.
I was going to say you can't switch out.
I'll go 1-0.
I don't see us keeping a clean sheet.
Goal scorer, Zhao. Goal scorer, Zhao. I think.
Oh, look at Marshall.
Okay.
Look how different he's being in the chat.
I'm keeping the confidence, by the way. Don't think I'm not confident for the season. I'm just saying I think we may struggle to begin with just in, all the transition, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you for joining us. I've got to literally go on to TalkSport now. So join TalkSport 2 right now, and I'll see you on the other side.
Drop a link in the chat thing.
I'll let you do it because I ain't got a link. TalkSport 2 on radio. Right. I'll see you soon. I'll be back afterwards, probably a little bit afterwards anyway, when we get a little bit of news. But yeah, thank you for joining this chat. Thank you as always, Owen, as well. We'll see you very, very soon to discuss hopefully a lot more transfers.
See you soon, buddy.
See you, mate.